I want to share my own tautological experience, an instant of wit. See, I had an epiphany in Eureka, the endgame zone in Final Fantasy XIV. Like any MMO, Final Fantasy XIV involves inordinate amounts of grinding. The Final Fantasy series has a particularly notorious reputation for being grindy. I still shudder at the thought of racing a chocobo. But upon its release, many players insisted that the grind in Eureka was the worst yet. If you dangle a carrot in front of an MMO player, they'll be drawn to it. And so I was drawn to Eureka. I had grinded for about 4 hours when I sent a message out to the zone. Ugh, this is such terrible game design. I can't stand this grinding. My message elicited one response. The train is life. I had seen a few references to the train in the game's chat box, mostly high-level players messaging looking for group for the NM train. But I had no idea what the NM train was. I figured it was Eureka's final encounter, some other horrible grindy thing I could do after I finished the other horrible grindy things. But I was wrong. Eureka has a unique mechanic. Kill enough of a particular kind of monster and a notorious monster will spawn. These monsters were designed to be incredibly challenging for the game's typical 8-person teams. But Eureka has another interesting dimension to its design. While groups were still limited to 8 players, a zone itself could hold 140 players at any given time. You could walk around and see and even help other groups. The Nightmare Train represents the spontaneous realization among players, Eureka, of how to collectively overcome the game's programmed boundaries. Instead of a bunch of individuated groups, folks in Eureka move as one large trailing mass, often a full 140 players, moving together from spot to summon and easily defeat these monsters. Beyond a collective rational solution to the game's poor design, they signify a tautological, frenetic, affective, electric experience. Folks on the Notorious monster train share a flash of care. They are, in Butler's terms, an assembly, quote, a provisional and plural form of coexistence that constitutes a distinct ethical and social alternative, end quote, to neoliberal individualistic responsibility. My own wonderment came as I saw level 20 players waiting to make sure low-level players made it to the train's next stop. Folks putting their own gear and experience at risk to raise those who have fallen. In a gaming environment often noted for toxic behavior, I saw the spontaneous assemblage of care as a social distributed obligation. And Eureka, I thought to myself, maybe the kids are all right, because the train is life.